Well, tell me first of all where you live and a little bit about the community you live in.
So I live in Iqaluit, which is in the Arctic of Canada. It's an area which is mostly covered in ice in the winter, normally, but we're seeing some drastic changes over the last few years. Population of about 8,000 people. So that's one of many Arctic communities that I represent. I'm with the Inuit Circumpolar Council, representing Inuit of Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and Russia.
And you said that the world has been talking about climate change for a few years, but it's the effects of climate change. People in your community have been noticing it for a lot longer, for some time now. Tell me a little bit about that. Roughly when that started and what those effects are.
Climate change we've been noticing for many years. I think it's important for the press to start focusing on what impacts it'll have on the people of the North. You hear a lot of stories in the media about the changes the melting Arctic will have on the polar bears, what it might do to the water levels. However, we feel it's important to show the people of the Arctic and what impacts it'll have on our way of life.
What impact would it have on your way of life?
It's certainly, we're finding extreme weather conditions, difficult to predict what the weather will be, and this has an impact on our hunting, our subsistence way of life. As well, if you're looking at infrastructure, the melting of the permafrost has seriously hurt many small communities. We have to look at relocating many key pieces of infrastructure, which will cost a significant amount of money and resources. We're also finding many different species moving up to the Arctic, which we're unfamiliar with. We're also noticing different marine mammal life moving into our areas, again, which are foreign to the people in the Arctic.
So if these effects continue in the way they have been going, I mean, would that pose an ultimate threat to the community, to the long-term sustainability of the community?
Yes, we've been saying for many years that we need to focus on the people of the Arctic, and we're actually calling on all the states that are here with the Inuit call for action to help mitigate the warming of the Arctic. We are on the front lines of what's happening with the effects of climate change. We want to make sure that there's financial resources available for mitigation and adaptation, because you'll see the impacts on our people will be devastating for many of our communities.
So you're here in Cancun at the Climate Change Summit. What is the message you bring to Mexico?
I think it's important to outline the Inuit. They want action on climate change. We feel that not enough has been done on the effects of climate change since Copenhagen. We're finding the Arctic states must step up to the plate, support mitigation, adaptation for our people. And I think it's important to ensure that we're included in the discussions. We also want to make sure that the funding is actually available to the Inuit people and not just identified to regions, because it's the Inuit that will be greatly impacted by the effects of climate change.
I mean, do you find the problem being a small community? And I've spoken to other people here from South Pacific Islands as well. Very different problems, but also affected by climate change. Small communities, which I think feel a little frustrated that their voices are not being heard or not being listened to by the developed countries who are causing the problem. Is that the feeling in your community?
Yes, I think that's why we've partnered with the small island developing states. Through the help of many strong voices, the United Nations, the UNEP, and it's only by combining our efforts I feel that we can get our message across. We're hoping to use the media, we're hoping to use, again, direct negotiations with the state governments so that collectively our message is actually heard, and they can actually step up to the plate. As you know, Canada has received 3 fossil awards, and we feel Canada has to do more. And I think Canada needs to show leadership on this issue of climate change.
I mean, from the mood you've gauged in the few days you've been here, I mean, are you optimistic that your voice will be heard?
Well, we feel, again, negotiations will be ongoing. They'll be going on late into the evening. We're certainly providing our direct feedback to the members of the state governments. I think the world's expectations of the meetings here are very low. I think it's important for us to get our message across regardless, because it's only by direct discussions that they'll actually know what we want as a people. I'm also, again, with the help of small island developing states, as well as our cooperation with the Sami Council, we're hoping to get that message across.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You covered everything.